Hospital, and then Dr. W.T. came in, and I was privileged to work a little while for Dr. Malcolm Jones before Dr. W.T. came in, and I certainly enjoyed working for Dr. W.T. and just appreciate having the privilege of being part of the medical history of Goose Creek and Baytown. And one thing I remember, when I first came here in the first of 42, we had, maybe it was a location or maybe it was just because I worked there, it seemed like we had a lot of emergencies coming in there. And I was always amazed at the audience we got. People from all parts of town came down to see what was going on. There was emergency going on. And there's a woman sitting right over here. I bet she could tell a lot of things that I don't even, before my time, I've never, much better history than I could tell. But anyway, I certainly enjoyed my nursing career.
I hope some of you will come up and add to our program.
I have something to say. I'd like to say hello to Mrs. Langford. She was my 4th grade teacher at Lamar School, Elaine View. And I just got through telling my granddaughter the other day how well you taught me the multiplication table.
Someone else? Yes.
I meant to tell this story when I was up here a while ago, and it kind of slipped my mind. I thought about it when Dr. Holsomback was talking about the appendectomies. In 1956, I didn't feel good on Monday. I went to the touchdown club on Monday night, and I didn't feel like eating. I knew that I was sick. I went to the Lions Club on Tuesday noon, and I didn't feel like eating lunch. I went to the East Harris County medical meeting on Tuesday night, and I didn't feel like eating. On Wednesday, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was feeling much worse, and I knew what was wrong because my soreness had moved from here around to here. I knew I had appendicitis. And I went down to see Les, who was a laboratory technician, and I hadn't talked to anybody else about it. I told Les, I said, I need you to run a blood count on me. And sure enough, I had a high white cell elevation. So about 5 o'clock, I found Dr. Holsomback in the hall, and I said, Dr. Holsomback, I said, I got to get my appendix out. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I've been sick since Monday. This was Wednesday afternoon. He said, come on in here. He laid me down on the table and said, hey, oh my God. He said, we got to do this in a hurry. I said, yeah, I know. Go home and get your pajamas and come on back. So we'll do it at 9 o'clock tonight. I went home and I told Hannah Mae, I said, you want to watch an appendectomy? She said, yeah. I said, well, good. I said, you can come on back. I said, whose? I said, mine. You got to be kidding. He said, we got to go to camp tomorrow. Our bar was in Kerrville at summer camp. And I said, I can't go. I'm going to get my appendix out. Well, she went down and with me. And my uncle gave me a saddle block for anesthetic. Dr. Holsomback, my uncle helped him take out my appendix. I was in the operating room a total of 13 minutes. I didn't go to sleep. Laid there and we laughed, cut up. They put up a mirror where I could watch them. And about midnight, my anesthetic wore off, and Dr. Holsomback had ordered a shot of morphine. In about 15 minutes, that made me sick. So at 8 o'clock the next morning, I got up and put my clothes on, and I went to the office. Well, in a little while, I was in there seeing some patients. And so nobody know I was sick. And I really wasn't sick. Well, a little while, Dr. Holsomback was making rounds, and they come around there. I had the nurse. He said, well, we don't know where he is. He didn't say anything about going any place. His clothes are in his room. So got some clothes in a room around there. Well, he came in the office, there I am, I'm sitting there seeing a patient. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, you know, I'm up, I'm gonna go ahead and work. And I did, I worked every day. Then maybe spent a few nights in the hospital, but during the daytime, I got up and went home. He said, don't you hurt? I said, not bad enough to take any more shots. And I didn't take them.
That's great. Do we have someone else who can add a story? Lowell, do you want to add something about being an architect on the hospital?
Well, I can tell you the gory details about the two big hospitals in Baytown. But I just wondered, do you think we ought to mention another health facility that we haven't mentioned that was important to Baytown, although it was really part of the Humboldt Company, and that is the Baytown Mutual Benefit Association. It was located over in Baytown. Before we were all Baytown, it was headed up by Dr. Bruce.
Why don't you come up and say a little bit about it? We have time.
Well, okay. I want to give these back to Drew anyway. They stole out of your file?
No.
Well, like Napoleon said, I didn't come here to make a speech. But I had the opportunity to be the architect involved in this house, on this hospital, and on the Gulf Coast, and also the Baytown Mutual Benefit Association. So I was intimately acquainted with the doctors and the procedures and everything that went on. And it's all right for the doctors to stand up there and say, we got together and we were going to form this hospital, we were going to build a hospital, but they didn't have to scrounge up the materials just after the war. The Methodist, what is now the Methodist Hospital, the San Jacinto Hospital, Bellows Construction Company had it to do. And they were negotiated with the Humboldt people in Houston and came down here. And I don't think Warren Bellows was real pleased. Remember, we didn't have I-10. All we had was Market Street. And we had a ferry over there. And getting workmen with the skills we needed, and getting the work done, and getting it usable and on the course was a problem. One of the problems we had was with, hope nobody's going to use some light and power here. We, during the course of construction, it came to my attention that we were connected to the Houston Light and Power Company, but we had no provision for generating our own power. And we investigated that, found out very quickly that the power company was bringing in another circuit to the building on the theory that if one went out, the other wouldn't. Well, it wasn't very long before they both went out. And so the San Jacinto Hospital had to retreat, regroup, and we had to install a complete emergency electrical system. And as you all know, as efficient as the power company is, and they are efficient, and even though the refinery in that day and age generated electricity also, when these storms come in, they don't respect anybody's power lines. They take them all, private and public. So that's how we got into that. So when we got into the Gulf Coast Hospital, we knew better in the first place and got that involved. So Gulf Coast was never down, nor was San Jacinto. Back to what I mentioned, the Mutual Benefit Association was an association of the Humboldt employees for their own medical treatment. I don't think they were mad at Dr. Marshall or Dr. Briddges or any Dr. Holsomback or anybody. They had this group, their own. Dr. Bruce, as I say, was a man that I knew was in charge of it. And I want to say this about George. He was talking about the service the doctor did to the community. He did also, and he was a fine man. This is really all I had to add, unless you want to know some of the gory details about this.
or ask any questions of the doctors before we close the program? Well, if that's it, I want to thank you for coming, thank everyone again who participated, and invite you back on June 17th when we talk about the history of the Baytown Sun.